They're here to make $1. I'm here to make a difference. Don't get into it today. There will be many lessons. I hope you all have your notepad and take these lessons to heart. When I first came into the YouTube space, I was one of the few people who used my true name, Marquette Devon Burton, for there is no dirt on that name. That name is pristine the world over.
Send that to me. That's a bar. It doesn't sound like a bar, but it is. It's chock full of truth.
Are you guys ready to open your eyes? Or will you remain in a slumber? That's how we landed here. That's how we landed here. You're sleeping. If you seek the truth, you may find comfort. If you seek comfort, you will never find the truth. If you seek the truth, you may find comfort, but you also may find great discomfort. Sometimes the truth is extremely uncomfortable. Huh? As I said, I'm the conscience of the internet. Anyways, let's go ahead and get to this news. Breaking news. Black people have a strong inferiority complex. I mean that for the world of Black people. It's strong. I never experienced this because I was raised to love, know, and understand what it is to be Black. Not only on a historical level, but literally, what does it mean to be Black? What is a melanocyte? Why does it produce melanin pigment? Where is melanin pigment found? What does it mean? What are the advantages? So I've always loved being Black. I was raised by Black people, Black men and women. My grandmother was very dark, Black, and loved being Black. In short, without giving a historically grounded answer, in short, their biggest issue is knowledge of self. Most of these Black males in our society today are white supremacists, which is to say they don't believe that Black is capable, Black is any good. They do believe in their own inferiority. Certainly they, have an inherent, not inherent, but an inbred, a learned sense that whites are intellectually superior, more capable, more timely, things like that, more civil. And, in some ways the evidence appears to show this. And so in their lack of self-knowledge, when you do not know the self, when you don't know who you are as an individual, but more importantly, on a biological, scientific level, what does it really mean to be Black? And then on a historical level, what are the accomplishments of your people? Have the Black peoples of the earth ever been great? When you're not familiar with that, then you feel as though you're a part of a people who have only had enslavement as a history and who are doomed to only be successful at certain things that you've observed us be successful at on a consistent basis, that being athletics and entertainment. And so they have a lack of examples and a lack of character education, and poor parenting, come from bad families. And that's why we see this kind of behavior. And that is why we must spread the ism. The ism saves lives. On Martin Luther King's birthday, I say his speech and his message and his ideology, garbage. That's a critique. I have a dream. Nonsense. That's a critique. And then I say, I have a plan. Let me tell you what it is. I give you the oratory with practical steps, and I got a whole organization behind me. Huh? Yes, I actually put my hands in the soil and create. Check my whole background. You'll see it my entire life since I was a young boy. It's different. Everyone can complain. Everyone can complain. Who will build? Huh?
I encourage that the saints all consider themselves leaders and businessmen above all.
So I never had this inferiority complex, and that's why I always perform, because I was always told this is the best thing you can be. So with that pride, I always perform, outperform. Most Black people actually hate themselves. Shout out to Beyonce with the blonde wig. You heard me? Shout out to Meg Thee Stallion, who keeps getting lighter every day.
Somebody riddle me that. It makes a grand total of 0 cents.
But I say that to say this. People who don't love themselves, people who have inferiority complexes, they believe that they are low persons, though they might not admit it out of their mouth. As a result of this mental reality, they tend to underperform to make sure that their self-view of being a low person always manifests in their material existence. So they screw up on purpose. There are many people who are screw ups. Human beings are inclined to complain. They're inclined to be weak. They're inclined to make excuses because it's easier. It's easier to be weak than it is to be strong. It's easier to be lazy than it is to be ambitious. It's easier to make excuses as opposed to make things happen. Huh? Come on now. They're not going to succeed, not because of racism, not because of the systemic racism and the oppression. They're not going to succeed because they're self-hating knuckleheads. That's why. Yeah, and they got every excuse, right? So I wanted to point that out because I observe this behavior in black folks a lot, man. It's not the lack of IQ. It's the fact that you hate yourself, and because you hate yourself, you're going to screw yourself over. Nobody else is screwing you over. You're screwing yourself over. Why? He doesn't want himself to succeed. Y'all don't hear me though. Are y'all understanding this? Are y'all understanding this? So the black peoples were the first on earth. So we have the genetic code for everyone, which is to say whites and Asians or Mongoloids, Caucasoids. And what you might be describing, such as the cheekbones or the epicantic eye fold, is originally a feature that comes from one of the black peoples, of which the Bushmen would be such peoples. And you're describing a fairly small portion of Africans, whereas if you look at the majority of Africans, they don't have these features. But I agree with you, it is present in our genetics, and just as even the features you might describe as European are present in our genetics at smaller levels. Obviously, at some level, the existence of the European is a variant of albinism, which is extreme melanin deficiency in hair, skin, eyes, etc. And so over time, when you have certain traits that make sense in a given environment, it creates a race. And so that's essentially what we see in the existence of the other races. Over time, these traits have stabilized because they were advantageous in a given environment. Say, unlike the Italians or the Germans or the others who came through Ellis Island as immigrants, still holding on to their culture, folkways, religion, mores, etc., the foundational Black American was recreated in this land with the new founding of a country called the United States of America. Everything that they know, they pretty much know from this land. Their religion, they learned their Christianity here in this land. Their language, they learned here in this land. Their folkways, their mores come from this land. In fact, the name of their ethnicity, African American, foundational Black American, whatever you want to call it, it came from this land. Whereas you see the whites in the Midwest, the Germans, they come from Germany. Or the folks in Pennsylvania who speak Pennsylvania Dutch. It comes from Europe. There's nothing that anyone can say that they have that came from the United States of America, meaning that new country. Now, people are like, Marquette, what about the Native Americans? Well, they predate America. They're not even Native Americans. Like, they're from a place that predates America. That's different. And furthermore, they've unfortunately been decimated and then marginalized onto reservations. Their culture predates the United States of America, and it has gone on with some level of continuity. So that's different. But the Black American, or the foundational Black American, they were created in America. Even the founders of the American nation state were subjects of the British Crown, whereas those who were enslaved came here and got their culture fully from America. Those who came here, the Europeans who even brought the Africans, enslaved Africans here, they got their culture from Britain or wherever they came from. So that's an important distinction. So anyways, just a little bit of relevant history. And I say that to say, because people often talk about, like, the Democratic Party was founded by the KKK, or like, you got to get off the plantation. It's like all of these allusions to slavery or enslavement really are irrelevant, because both of the parties are deeply racist and discriminatory. And when I say discriminatory, I mean they discriminate against authentically Black persons with authentically Black culture. None of the persons who operate within these parties would we as urban Blacks recognize, in as much as they're just performing an identity. Barack Obama grew up in Hawaii. What N-words from Hawaii? You're be like, can somebody name a rapper from Hawaii? You guys are like, well, rappers, Marquette, that's not like the true essence of Black culture. Well, actually, it is. Actually, and most Blacks are urban Blacks. And I don't know that Hawaii has a major urban center of Blacks. It's not Detroit. It's not Atlanta. It's not Chicago. So he's performing it. He also went to private schools, grew up with his grandparents who are both white, which there's nothing wrong with that. Sounds like a nice upbringing, but it's just not a Black American upbringing. And Kamala Harris is married to a white man and has white children, which, hey, do what you do. I'm not against miscegenation. I'm not against interracial marriage or dating. But to have a woman who's part Indian and then Jamaican, which is not a foundational Black American, and then has white kids and a white husband, and then suggesting that she's like the mascot for Black women is just utterly ludicrous. But this is the Democratic Party's effort to confuse you and also to bamboozle you, and failing to find someone who's authentically Black, because someone who's authentically Black wouldn't mess with the Democrats. Someone who's authentically Black probably wouldn't mess with the Republicans. In fact, someone who's authentically conservative could mess with the Republicans. I say all that to say, we know that government for a long time has been in the hands of the wicked. And the question is, whether it's a Kamala Harris presidency, it's a Donald Trump presidency, it's a fill in the blank presidency. Well, how is your life best lived? How do you achieve happiness? How do you have economic sustainability? How do you keep the dollar within your community? And I realize that we're dealing with such low levels of intelligence, and families have broken down so badly that knowledge is not passed on. What has greater meaning is, does your Black child have a father? What has greater meaning is, did you get your Black child into the best possible school you can get them into? What has greater meaning is, are you able to live in a neighborhood that's safe? Those are the things to focus on. So what I'm telling you guys is that all this stress that you take on, all this intensity and pressure that you put on yourself is not necessary. Enjoy. Take life easy. Appreciate the small things. There's no reason to ever be stressed about anything. It's all going to pass. And mostly things are going to go well. Your time on earth is valuable enough not to waste it. And your happiness is precious enough to prioritize it. 3-sentence Bible. Be yourself. Be good to yourself. And be good to good people. Walk that path. You don't have to walk someone else's path. Wishing you much success. Saints, let us end this the way we always end this, with our tradition, the creed of assassin. Repeat after me with full conviction, knowing this is true of you. The creed of assassin. I am going to be who I truly am, because I am remarkable. And I'm going to strive every moment to show the greatest part, to show the greatest part of who I am. Until next time. It has truly been a pleasure. It has truly been a pleasure today.